Remember, we're talking about the 4-step process to generate cash flow. Okay, I'm talking about the C.O.P.E method, cash flow method, which is C.O.P.E, Sarah. C stands for, as I said, stands for conditions, terms and conditions. O stands for objections. P stands for purchase lease option, and E stands for your exit strategy. Okay, so I was talking about the C, which is terms and condition. I show you an example that a term and condition. I show you a template, and then I show you the steps in what you should contain in, for example, in a head of terms like information pack, reservation fee. You need to make sure you include your fee, outstanding balance, because you need to send them an invoice, and also the signature, very important. Okay, now in terms of the objections, which is step 2, O. So of course I put we have some objections from the buyer as an investor. So as an investor, I'm going to be asking you, if you are my source, I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions about the property, about your due diligence, about your process. So you need to make sure you know what you're talking about, and you know your stuff, as they say. Because as I'm buying the deal from a source, I have a lot of rejections. Why is that? Why I have a lot of rejections or even a lot of objections? I might reject the deal, of course, based on what I see on the data, on the research you've done. So because, as we know, most sources, they have no clue what they're doing. They don't have enough education, and they do a lot of mistakes in the beginning. And I can tell you that because in the beginning, I was a sourcer, and I continue sourcing, so I didn't know what I was doing before. So I've done a lot of mistakes, and sometimes I pay a lot of money for those mistakes. And now I learn from other people's mistakes, not just my mistakes. Okay, so now let's talk about objection, shall we? Now, I said, one thing that sources don't do proper is due diligence. They don't do proper due diligence. And this is what I told you in the video before. I lost a lot of money in 2015 because I haven't done my proper due diligence. And then you asked me, Sarah, you remember, you said, what you would have done differently? And I said, what I would do different if I would the property now, I would buy in the center of Doncaster, not in the suburbs. Those parts of Doncaster who have a lot of people low income who have problems to pay the rents. So I would do that differently. So, but once you do your proper due diligence, you're gonna definitely minimize your mistakes. You're gonna build trust with your investors. They're gonna trust you. They're gonna pay you more money. You're gonna make more cash flow, make more money, and you're gonna definitely replace your income within 12 months because you know what you're doing. You have a process, and as I said, but you also need to get educated and be compliant. If you don't want to get compliant, because some people don't want to get, some sources don't want to be compliant. If that is the case, you can always work with a source who is fully compliant. They have all the documentations, and then you can split the profit. Or also you can work with me. Even if you're not fully compliant, we can work with me, and I will bring other people on board. That should be okay, as long as the deal is a good deal. So in terms of step 2, remember, step 2 is objections of the cash flow method. We talk about how to generate cash flow, and I said you need to make sure you use the right contracts and templates, otherwise you won't make enough money. You won't be able to replace your income within 12 months. Okay, so this step now is objections, and one of the things you're going to overcome, if you like, the objections, you're going to persuade the investor, is to show proper due diligence. If you can do that, Sarah, you can definitely generate more cash flow in the long term. However, I said here, you need to make sure you're always dealing with motivated seller. I went to view 2 properties in the last last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't dealing with motivated sellers, and I'm still teaching the sources, about how to deal with, sellers, how to choose the right sellers. So we need to have the criteria. Yeah.
Can I have a question, please? Is there like a list of things that you tick off as your due diligence when you are processing a property?
Yes, I do. And this is exactly what I'm going to talk here. There are a couple of things I'm going to cover here. Yes. One of the things I'm going to check, Sarah, is motivated sellers. We need to make sure the people, the sellers, the vendors are motivated enough. If they're not, what you're going to do then? Remember, you're going to follow up every 2 weeks. Yes. You're going to follow up every 2 weeks until they become motivated. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time and money. And I can give you the template, which is a viewing checklist, and also all the documents if you like to
Yes, please.
track. Yes. So another, so second thing, Sarah, you said about what you have anything you can do to check. So check number 1, motivated seller, yes or no? Yes, go to step 2. You need to seek an area with a strong rental demand. This cannot be an area with people on struggling to pay the mortgage or rent. I mean, in this case, I'm talking about strong rental demand. It's easy to rent the property because even the house is very cheap. If the house is cheap, you're gonna buy the house, but it's difficult to rent the property, which means I'm not interested.
How do you know that?
Well, I have to do some my checks. I have to do my due diligence. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. You know, you have to know how to do the due diligence in terms of how to calculate the return on investment, the ROCE. Yes, you need to know how to calculate the ROCE. This is something I can talk about in another video. Yes, so ROCE is very important. So, and I said here, only control or buy property with positive cash flow. Now, of course, I would love to buy properties that generate positive cash flow, or the tenant is already sitting in, already paying the rent. However, as I said, remember what I said before, sometimes even if the property is negative equity, I will still buy the property. However, I need to have special agreement with the landlord, because if I'm going to buy a property that is not generating positive cash flow, which means he needs to give me more time, maybe 10 years to control that property, or even maybe I'm going to buy even cheaper, because I'm going to be paying the mortgage, paying the rent, paying the insurance, isn't it? So of course it's going to be different criteria. And also one of my strategies is to buy for long term, which is I call buy and hold and die. So I'm a holder. I love holding properties and lands. When I buy a property, it's not to sell, but of course, some properties you cannot keep all the properties, Sarah. Yes, you have to package some of them, maybe 1 or 2, because they don't fit your strategy. Okay, so of course you have to. When I say buy and hold, that's my main strategy. But of course, sometimes you have to package, sell some properties so you can get the money to buy other properties. Okay, there's another check. Another check is always have a cash buffer. Very important, Sarah. Mainly during a recession, because when we're going through a recession like COVID-19, a lot of people go out of business or they struggle because they don't have emergency cash. So it's important to have money in an easy access account in which if something happens, if there is an emergency, you can use that money to buy properties or even to help your family out in bad times. So what else, Sarah? Now we're talking about step 3, Sarah. Step 3, as you can see here, is P, purchase lease option. That's my favorite strategy. Why is that my favorite strategy, Sarah? Remember,
because
this option,
it requires little money.
Exactly. So with this option, I don't have to put qualify for a mortgage. I don't need to. I don't need like a deposit. So maybe I just need to use the money to do refurb, which is okay.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be below market value.
Exactly. That's one thing that I always tell people. You can bring me properties up to the full asking price. I'm okay with that. We can talk business. Yes. So I would say here, step number 3, always use a head of terms. This is one of the big mistakes I see a lot of people do. Most of the investors or sources, they have no clue what is head of terms, or they don't have a template. With the people who, you see, if you get into my mastermind paid program, you will see I provide a lot of support. And as I said, we go to view properties together. We do offers together. You know, it's something that you have a lot of support. Of course, that's what is missing. And my program is very cheap at the moment as it stands. Is £100 a month. Of course, they said it's very cheap. I have to increase the price somehow in the future. But again, that is something for another time. So use head of terms. Second, you need to use 2 service solicitors. Please, a big mistake of people, they don't use solicitors. They want to save money. They want to, I'm going to do the contract myself, or they ask other people, do you have a contract? We cannot be using other investors' contracts or other people's contracts. That is not the way forward, because remember, solicitors are the people who are going to protect yourself. So once the contract is legally binding, if something happened, you go to the court, and then it's okay because you are protected. But if you don't use a solicitor to draw the contract, the buyer will take you to the court if something happened. Then they will say, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. Some forced me to sign the contract. So I don't trust buyers So I need to go legally. So you need to make sure your solicitor specializes in lease option, and also I need to make sure the solicitors they are property investors themselves, because some lease option solicitors they don't invest in property, so which means they're not up to date with the legislations and also with the deals. So I'm not interested. If you're a solicitor but you're not investing in property, I'm not interested really. But if you are, I'm happy to pay good money if the deal is right. Yeah, I will definitely do that, because this solicitor they're going to register the title deed in the land registry. That's one way, Sarah, you can protect yourself as well, because once you the solicitors register your name as the second person, like the second charge, the buyer cannot sell the property without your consent, because sometimes they try to sell the property, and then that's something that happened in the past. So always have a solicitor, because they're going to do a check and register the property in your name as well as the second charge. Yes, and this is the last bit, which is always have mentors and other skilled people in your power team. This is very, very, very important. And the reason my progress was very slow in property before, I didn't have mentors, I didn't have skilled people like builders, sources, and even accountants. So my progress was very slow. But when I start focusing building my network, building people, my progress, actually skyrockets. So always have mentors. Some mentors you don't pay, some mentors, and other mentors you have to pay, because as they say, we get what we pay for. So we need to make sure we pay the right mentors, and the right mentors for us, because not all mentors are right for us. Yeah, some people they just want the money, they don't actually want to help you. So that's the way I realized. Yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way. So the fourth step, Sarah, which is the exit strategy. So many investors they have no clue, they don't have any exit strategy. Even sources, they just want to replace the income, or they just want to make money, or they just want to get out of their job. But I said, what is your exit strategy? What are you trying to accomplish? You want to package this deal, or you want to actually to buy this property and hold? So what is your strategy? So you need to have at least two exit strategies. At least that's what I recommend. So as you see, the exit strategy number one, I said package. So if your strategy is to package or sell the deal, then I would say definitely you need to have a power of attorney. Because as I said to Sarah before, if the seller die or they become incapacitated, which is unable to make decisions, you'll be able to sell the property without their consent, because you have a power of attorney that gives you permission to sell the property. Okay, and that is signed. So you should be okay. Now again, you need to know how much is the property you are buying. You need to know what type of property. You need to know your numbers. You need to know your facts. You need to do your due diligence, because you're trying to package the property. So you need to know all the information. So otherwise you won't persuade the investor to buy from you. Okay. And then the second, let's say you're trying to keep the deal. So, and I would say, how are you going to buy the deal? Are you going to use JV? Are you going to use a mortgage, which is a decision in principle? Are you going to get a decision like a mortgage, which is, if that is the case, if you're going to get a mortgage, you need to make sure you get a decision in principle by your bank, which means you're going to be mortgage ready. Okay, because that's what I'm saying. It depends on your outcome. If you're going to buy the property using JV, that's different. You need to make sure you're building those relationships and be ready when the property. So when you find the property, they're ready to go. Okay, so do you have the deposit or lease option fee if you're trying to use a creative strategy? So all these things is very important, but sometimes you don't think about them, isn't it? So Sarah, and then I have some example of bad contracts. I mean, there are many examples of bad contracts. But before we talk about this, I will show you. Maybe let me go first with this, Sarah, because let me just finish it, and then we can go to example of some of the contracts. So I would say this, Sarah. Any contract that let's say you talk about doing deals, but you don't even have a head of terms. So big mistake, because a lot of people, as I said, they try to copy contracts from other investors, or they try so they can save money on solicitors. That is a big mistake, because you need proper contract, but as I said, by a savvy solicitor. And before you have this contract, you need to have a head of terms. And these have a...
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go on.
These contracts, when you say, should you ask the savvy solicitor, the experienced solicitor, to draw up the contract from scratch?
No.
Or do you give a template and say something like this?
Yes, Sarah, that's correct. You need to make sure the first thing is to give them a head of terms. So when you go into a viewing, let's say you're going to do a viewing, and the buyer say, yes, okay, I'm going to offer you this deal. Let's go. So, and then I'll ask you, what's the next step? So if the buyer wants to sell the property for you, so what's the next step? You need to have the head of terms. You need to get them to sign the head of terms, Sarah. Yes? Get them to sign the head of terms. So you need to have your template in hand. Every time you go to do a viewing, make sure you have a head of term. Sorry. So I will give you this head of terms if you like. And then based on this head of terms, the solicitor is going to do the contract. And that's why in this head of terms needs to have the special considerations. As I said, any concerns or objections from both parts. It's not just about you as the buyer and also the investor. We need to have all concerns written down, okay, and clearly stated, okay. So that's the mistakes are this: people have no clue, they don't have a head of terms, and they don't have proper contracts, and then they don't have even solicitors. Let me go to some examples here of contracts. So for example, I can show you an example of an invoice. Remember what I said about invoice? So when you go invoice, so once you get the fee, agreed, the reservation fee, you're going to... Sarah, can you hear me? Yes. So once I'm talking about the first step, yes, which is the terms and conditions. So once you have the investor to agree with the reservation fee, you're going to invoice them. You're going to send them the invoice. This is the properties, as you can see, is head of terms already done. So this was the property, head of terms. This was the property. You have the name of the seller's name. You have the buyer's name here. Yes. And then you have the property address. Okay. And then it's a 3-bed and terraced. And then the type of property is freehold. And then the agreed purchase price, as you can see, Sarah, 52,000. Yeah. 931. Yes. So you can see, Sarah, for example, the property I was saying, head of terms, you can see here's the name of the seller, and this is the buyer's name, yes. And then here is the property address, and then this is the type of property, which is 3-bed and terrace. And here, Sarah, can you see the title number? It's very important you get the title number. I mean, you get the solicitor to go and do the check and check if the property is actually in the person's name, because some people try to sell the property and they are not actually their houses, or not actually they're not allowed to do so. So you need to make sure the property is registered in their names, okay? Otherwise, I'm not going to go ahead. And then the type of property is freehold, and then you can see the price here is 52,931. There was no special conditions here, not applied. It was 2017, and then you have 13 years to complete the deal, and then you have more information here, and then you have the terms, monthly payments, the monthly fee, and then I have the signature here, so I have to sign this. Yes, Sarah.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, you're welcome. So we have more, but I can show you more. This is head of terms already done. Okay, you need this. So any questions, Sarah? Yeah, any question? No, because we have minutes left. Yeah, I'm open to questions. So I can go back. I talk about the C.O.P.E. Remember, the C.O.P.E. method. I want you to retain this in your mind, because I can give you all the information, but it's very important that you can remember because this C.O.P.E.
terms and conditions, objections, purchase lease option, and exit.
Yeah, so that's the main. So if you want to generate cash flow within 12 months and replace your income, this is one of the strategies I use. I need to make sure I always have the terms and conditions. Always, I need to have the template. Yes, I can give you the template. And then in terms of objections or any rejection, you need to make sure you capture. When you go for a viewing, ask the buyer about what their objections, what they concerned or worried about, and then you need to make sure you put it there and show them if something happened, you want to be protected, and you show them that there's a special consideration is there to protect them. So that's how you minimize the fears and you reduce the fears so they can actually sign the head of terms. Because once you sign the head of terms, that is money, Sarah. Yes, that is money. You can sell that. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So then you have purchase lease option. I put here head of terms. Head of terms. Yes, I show you an example of head of terms, and the conditional terms. I show you an example of terms and conditions as well done, which is the reservation fees, things like that. And then in terms of exit strategy, we talk about your exit strategy can be keep or package or anything else, or can even you want to keep, you want to refurb. So here you need to make sure before even you go and view the property, you need to know your exit strategy. Then some investors, they have no clue about this, as I said. Yes. So and there you go. So that's the things I got.
If you say, so like for that example you gave us, if I understood it, the lease option was for 13 years.
Yes, 13 years. Yes.
Now, at the end of 13 years, so much can happen. How can you be sure what your exit strategy will be until close to the time that you need to exercise the purchase?
Yes, I mean, yes, that's right. A lot of things can happen. Crisis. You don't know even you're going to be alive. Even the investor. Yes, I know. The investor, the buyer. That's you see, you have 13 years to complete. The good thing about lease options, Sarah, is that you can actually sell them. You can sell them anytime. But what you're asking me is that you can have a power of attorney in which you state exactly about this. If there is any concern, let's say you die, or the investor die, or the seller die, or you become incapacitated, you're not able to make any decision, you can say, oh, in that case, this goes to my trustee, go to my kids, or this go to anywhere. You need to make sure, Sarah, this question need to be on the head of terms. Is that
okay?
Yeah, is that clear? Yes, you understand? Yes.
Yeah.
So but again, I would say I have 13 years to complete. However, Sarah, the good thing is about you have the obligation. They say you have the right, not the obligation, to do so, to buy. So anytime you don't want to buy, you don't buy, because you don't have to do so. But I'm looking to to buy the property as soon as possible once I have, because sometimes in 13 years a lot of things can happen, as you said. So the quicker you can buy the property, the better. Or if you don't want to buy the property, you change your mind, you can package it, you can sell it.
I know you say lease options are your thing now, and you've made me very interested in it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going for a course by the end of the month just about lease options. This couple, that's all they do, nothing else. That's their strategy. What's your target in terms of how many lease option acquisitions are you targeting?
As much as possible. I don't have a number. I have a budget for that, so I'm actually at a budget. The good thing is,
so would you want 1 a month or 10 a month?
No, to get started, it couldn't be 2, 3, but to get started, I need to, as I said, the first one, it depends how the relationship goes. If for me, 1 a month is okay, because remember, if I can say 10 a month, and then it's not realistic, because first the relationship is gonna take time to know each other, and it takes time. But of course, over time, if you can bring me a good deal, and then I make more money, and then I can use the money to buy more, to pay you more. So of course, the more deals you can bring to me, good deals, and then the more I'm going to be able to buy, and even using
well, I'm even thinking if I find a lease option, I probably want to keep it myself.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's correct. A lot of people keep the best deals. The problem with that, you won't be able to keep all the deals. You see, you won't be able, because you don't have the money, the capacity to keep all the deals. So you will be able to sell some of them. You see,
okay,
because you don't have, unless you have a lot of money standby, a lot of investors, JVs, you can do that, but you won't be able to do all the lease option deals. Yeah,
okay,
for sure, I can guarantee you that. But again, I have a course. My mentoring program is something interactive. As I said, is £100 a month. They asked me to increase that. I have a group program.